in your previous response, you spoke about self-determination as an emerging political voice right now. And you seemed to have some fears that people misconstrue what self-determination is. So, for the avoidance of any misinterpretations, what is self-determination in the context of the political fight for the people of Matabeleland? And how will it help in the attainment of freedom that has been elusive since time immemorial? Thank you.
In simple terms, self-determination means simply being able to determine how you want to live. And in this case, the absence of real power amongst us as the people of Matabeleland, the fact that we never had real power for centuries now, to be able to be who we want to be, says that we cannot choose. And if you can't choose to be who you are, it means you are oppressed. If you are oppressed, it means there's an oppressor. In this case, ZANU-PF and those that it represents at a tribal level, in the context of Zimbabwe's tribal politics, are the oppressors. They oppress us. The first point is that when you are oppressed, you lose the security to life. And the people of Matabeleland lost that security to life when innocent, unarmed, citizens were ruthlessly killed by ZANU-PF merely for being people of Matabeleland. Let's not even talk about the reasons that ZANU-PF gave. The whole thing was about tribe. ZANU-PF was destroying a whole, spectrum of tribal groupings in Matabeleland. And so, if you have lost the right to be safe in a country, you have no right to self-determination. You cannot then be said to be part of the self-determination that you were fighting for in pre-independence Rhodesia. And therefore, if your life is not guaranteed to be safe, you use that as a clear example of a lack of self-determination. Secondly, the issue of equality amongst the people or citizens of any country. Everybody knows that the people of Matabeleland are not treated as equals with people of Mashonaland. And so the absence of equality says that you cannot determine or have the power to be equal to the rest of the people in the country. The distribution of job opportunities by ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe is tribally skewed in favor of the people of Mashonaland. That says that you don't have power to stop that. And for God's sake, let's accept that we don't have power. We have never had it. If we had power to determine what we want, we would not allow these things to happen. We would not allow these things to happen to our children who would want to choose professions. They go to the University of Zimbabwe, they go to teachers' colleges, they go to polytechs in order to find placements as trainees. And they are asked whether there are no such institutions in Matabeleland that they can go to. This is an age-old argument by loyalists of Robert Mugabe. And so I'm saying, once you find that happening to a people, know that they do not have self-determination, which is not a new concept in struggles. It has been used, to fight, imperialism. It is still being used even to today. You go to Cameroon, you find people are fighting for self-determination. So as long as it is defined in the constitution for instance, according to ZANU-PF, it clearly discriminates, leaves out the people of Matabeleland and delivers self-determination to one sector of the country. And that is the real issue we are faced with here. And we think it is important for us to sober up and begin to realize the importance as a generation that is living today, that our obligation is to the future generations of Matabeleland and leave them a legacy of refusing to be treated like vassals.
In your article, Mr. Mzila, you said the Zimbabwean nationalism has been replaced by a system worse than white colonialism. So this system, which is currently prevailing in the country, which is clearly designed to be anti-Matabeleland. Can you give us a picture of what that system is? What does it do? How does it look like?
The example that I want to give has to do with the casualties of the War of Liberations, for instance. I don't know what researchers do come out with, but my own, research has revealed that in between 1963 and 1979, less than 17,000 people were killed, either in combat or hanged by Ian Smith for political activism. That's over a period of 17 years. But from 1980 to 1987, you had half the country losing more than 50,000 people, which is 3-4 times the number killed by Ian Smith during the war. Over a short period, less than half the period that Smith took to harvest the lives of our innocent people. And that tells you about the system that is in place, a system that will target a particular regional grouping of people and declare them as enemies of the state, and therefore enjoy the right to kill them willy-nilly, innocent, unarmed, old, young, civilians in Matabeleland, just being killed for being the people of Matabeleland. And that's the system in place that cannot guarantee you the right to life, even if you are silent, because most of the people who were killed then had not said anything to Robert Mugabe, had not criticized him. The few ZAPU people who were killed also, at least were part of a party that did not vote for ZANU-PF. But the rest of the people that were killed were totally innocent and unarmed civilians, killed by a party called ZANU-PF that had taken charge of the levers of power. And so from that point, you had cycles of activities carried out by ZANU-PF upon the people of Matabeleland that say, look, even if the Gukuraundi physically ended in 1987, it is continuing to this day. Let me give you an example of the land displacement, the land allocations in Matabeleland following the land reform of 2000. If you follow this closely, you realize that there are more people from Mashonaland being resettled in Matabeleland than you'll ever see anyone from Matabeleland being resettled in Mashonaland. And please, I'm begging people to look at this closely and say, why is this happening? Whether one is Shona or is a person from Matabeleland, and say, why is it that the system of government will recycle people from another region in another region where it gives them preference to jobs in both the private and public sector at the expense of locals. Go to Victoria Falls, go to Plumtree, go to Bridge, just the entry points, and see what is happening there. It's as if we don't exist. Now, that is the system that is in place, a system that discriminates people from taking advantage of what their local situation provides. It has nothing to do with qualifications. It has everything to do with tribe. And so a system that discriminates people on the basis of tribe will then ensure that they deploy those that they believe they can trust tribally. A cruel system that will not sympathize with the suffering of the people of Matabeleland for being discriminated. They will not empathize. Not that I'm asking ZANU-PF to empathize or to sympathize, because they simply will not. Why should they, if they have an agenda to carry out, that they've been carrying out in Matabeleland since 1980? The system that we have in place is a system that is so determined to abuse, to humiliate, to trash the people of Matabeleland, their cultures, their languages, their religions, as happens at the Njelele shrine in Matobo. So the evidence is all there for us to see that the system